Hi, my name is Alistair. I work at Art in Motion Tattoo. I've been tattooing for about 5, 6 years at this point, and I love it. Prior to that, I was mostly doing graphic design and illustration for fantasy, sci-fi gaming companies. I needed a job that was a bit more recession-proof. Freelancing as a designer rather, in the late 2000s was a little difficult. So started looking around, found a shop that was going to take me on as a proper apprentice, and that's all she wrote on that one. I've tattooed probably at least 2 tattoos a day on average for the last 5, 6 years. And then if you count the year I was apprenticing, that would make it about 7 years.
I asked him, I was like, oh, let me get Plague Doctor. I've always loved them. I always thought they were fascinating. They look so cool. And so he pretty much drew up a ridiculous entire piece that has him holding a lantern with flames, a two-headed baby skull. You know, it's just so many different ideas. He has, a three-eyed crow from Game of Thrones thrown in there. And it's like, I didn't have to say anything. All I said was, give me this one thing. And he made a banger. So he's good, man.
The funniest story is a woman who passed out while getting a tramp stamp, then proceeded to vomit on herself and then urinate herself while passed out. The place that always baffles me in terms of its popularity is vaginal mound tattoos. Usually it's a picture of candy, cookies, something sweet, something edible, and it's always an awkward experience.
What are the most painful places to tattoo someone?
Ribs, definitely for women. Chest for guys. Anyone on the lower hips, just above the genitals. And for most people, tops of the hands, tops of the feet, collarbones, anywhere that's bony, really.
How long does it take to get a tattoo done?
Depends heavily on the tattoo and the detail. Color tattoos tend to take a lot longer. That's why you oftentimes hear the misinterpreted rumor that color costs more. It doesn't necessarily cost more, it's just that it might take longer to do. Black and gray is a little bit faster, but any really competent black and gray artist may take longer than even a color artist to get the tones and the values properly set in the skin.
So I'm here. I'm gonna get my first tattoo. I'm really nervous, but hopefully it goes well and I don't cry. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to get their first tattoo?
Think small. There's nothing wrong with tackling a bigger project, but it does hurt. So consider the fact that you might not have the best pain tolerance walking in your first time. If you have a heart condition and can't deal with stress, getting tattooed is very anxiety inducing. That's why for a lot of people, the best thing to do is just relax and meditate through the process. So if you have a heart condition or you are prone to stroke or you're on blood thinners, and the big one is also if you're diabetic, you should at least let your tattoo artist know, because that means that we're going to avoid lower extremities and we're going to be a bit more careful about how we tattoo you. You have inks, obviously. The colors and the amount of ink you put out is determined by the size of the tattoo. You have your rinse bottles, all with, of course, barrier protections on them so you don't contaminate them with biohazard. You have a little bit of A&D, Vaseline, or any other kind of product that's similar in order to lubricate the skin so the ink doesn't stick to it. And you have, of course, paper towels, stencil, razor for prepping the skin surface, which comes, of course, with rubbing alcohol and soaps in order to keep the surface clean. And then, of course, you have the machine. Now, this particular machine may look a little different than a lot of other machines. This is what's called a rotary machine. It uses an electric motor to drive the needle instead of an electromagnet, like most traditional machines. The difference, as a result, is a much quieter running machine with a much smoother operation. Back in the day, they would use these things called coil machines. And coil machines would do the same thing. They use electric power to drive the armature bar, which drove the needle. But instead of using a motor, they would use electromagnets that would constantly push and pull on this magnetized armature bar. Now the difference, of course, as most people are familiar with who have ever gotten a tattoo, is noise. It's a significantly louder device. It causes a lot more skin trauma, and usually people complain about the pain. How was that?
Well,
How was that?
what?
How was that?
It was. Uh,
Okay, so you're good.
It just hurts a little.
Okay, good. That's all.
It hurts
That's all
a
it's gonna
lot-ish.
feel like.
That's gonna feel the whole time, or
Yeah.
just on that spot?
No, that's all it's gonna feel the whole time.
Do you have a lot done?
I did one line.
Oh, God damn it! Go.
Being a tattoo artist isn't easy. At the same time, it is a very appealing job for a lot of people. For the most part, it's something that takes long hours of dedication, long hours of commitment, and it's not something to be trifled with. The best way to do it is to build your art portfolio. Focus on your line work, your coloring, your shading, the core elements that will make you good at art, period. Take that to a shop and get a proper apprenticeship. Get the training necessary to really succeed in this career. Otherwise, you're never going to be making things that you see in magazines or you see on TV, and you're always going to be relegated to the crappy little things that you see walking down the street.